Hello, it's Sarah with Read the Entire Bible in a Year. We're on day 41, and guess what? We'll be finishing the book of Leviticus, chapters 26 and 27. How awesome. I hope you're having a good enough day. Mine's full of static as usual, but not to be expected much else this time of year. So chapter 26, I was noticing in this chapter something very beautiful. And when the people tried to serve Jehovah the best as they could, he said, when I did these things for you, I am going to be walking among you, and you are going to be able to hold your head up high. How beautiful is that? He's not about sticking your nose up in the air like you're better than somebody else. He's talking about when you are reaching for beautiful things and you're doing what you can to achieve them. It's something to be proud of, like reading the entire Bible in a year, trying to stick with it. That's something to be proud of. It really, really is. So if you're trying, you're doing a good job. Even if you're just starting here, it's pretty awesome. So, and even if you're not doing it in a whole year, So, remember too, these people promised to Jehovah that they would try it. And when he is punishing them, it's not because they made mistakes, it's because they made personal choices opposite of what they said they would. So that's one of the things we're reading about too. It wasn't because they just messed up. It was because they deliberately made choices against their relationship. So when you hear about him punishing them, that's what he's talking about. Why then? So, but hold your head up high when you're trying to do good. Chapter 26. You must not make worthless gods for yourselves, and you must not set up a carved image or a sacred pillar for yourselves, and you must not put a stone figure in your land in order to bow down toward it. For I am Jehovah your God. You should keep my Sabbaths and show reverence for my sanctuary. I am Jehovah. If you continue walking in my statutes and keeping my commandments, and you carry them out, I will give you showers of rain at their proper time, and the land will yield its produce, and the trees of the field will give their fruit. Your threshing season will extend until your grape harvest, and the grape harvest will extend until the sowing season, and you will eat your bread to satisfaction and dwell in security in your land. I will put peace in the land, and you will lie down with no one making you afraid. And I will rid the land of vicious wild animals, and the sword of war will not pass through your land. You will certainly pursue your enemies, and they will fall before you by the sword. 5 of you will pursue 100, and 100 of you will pursue 10,000. And your enemies will fall before you by the sword. I will direct my favor to you, and make you fruitful and multiply you, and I will keep my covenant with you. While you are still eating the old produce of the preceding year, you will need to clear out the old to make room or way for the new. And I will place my tabernacle in your midst, and I will not reject you. I will walk among you and be your God, and you, for your part, will be my people. I am Jehovah your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be their slaves no longer. And I broke the bars of your yoke and made you walk with heads held high. However, if you will not listen to me or keep all these commandments, and if you reject my statutes, and if you abhor my judicial decisions, so that you do not keep all my commandments and you violate my covenant, I, for my part, will do the following to you. I will punish you with the distress, with tuberculosis and burning fever, making your eyes fail and your life waste away. You will sow your seed simply for nothing, for your enemies will eat it. I will set my face against you, and you will be defeated by your enemies, and those who hate you will tread on you. And you will flee when no one is pursuing you. If even this does not make you listen to me, I will have to chastise you 7 times as much for your sins. I will break your stubborn pride and make your heavens like iron, and your earth like copper. You will exhaust your strength for nothing, as your land will not yield its produce, and the trees of the land will not produce fruit. But if you keep walking in opposition to me and refuse to listen to me, I will then have to strike you 7 times as much according to your sins. I will send the wild animals of the field among you, and they will bereave you of children and annihilate your domestic animals and reduce your numbers, and your roads will be deserted. If in spite of these things you do not accept my correction, and you insist on walking in opposition to me, then I too will walk in opposition to you, and I myself will strike you 7 times for your sins. I will bring an avenging sword upon you for breaking the covenant. If you gather yourselves into your cities, I will send disease into your midst, and you will be given into the hand of an enemy. When I destroy your supply of bread, 10 women will be able to bake your bread in only 1 oven, and then your ration of bread. Then, back up, 26. When I destroy your supply of bread, 10 women will be able to bake your bread in only 1 oven, and then ration your bread by weight, and you will eat, but you will not be satisfied. If, in despite of this, you will not listen to me, and you insist on walking in opposition to me, I will intensify my opposition to you, and I myself will have to chastise you 7 times for your sins. So you will have to eat the flesh of your sons, and you will eat the flesh of your daughters. I will annihilate your sacred high places, and cut down your incense stands, and pile your carcasses on the carcasses of your disgusting idols. And I will turn away from you in disgust. I will give your cities to the sword and make your sanctuaries desolate, and I will not smell the pleasing aromas of your sacrifices. I myself will make the land desolate, and your enemies who are dwelling in it will stare in amazement over it. And I will scatter you among the nations, and I will unsheathe the sword after you. And your land will be desolate, and your cities will be devastated. At that time, the land will pay off its Sabbaths. All the days it lies desolate, while you are in the land of your enemies. At that time, the land will rest, as it must pay its Sabbaths. All the days it lies desolate, it will rest, because it did not rest during your Sabbaths when you were dwelling in it. As for those who survive, I will fill their hearts with despair in the lands of their enemies, and the sound of a blowing leaf will cause them to flee. And they will flee like someone running from the sword and fall without anyone pursuing them. They will stumble over one another like those running from a sword, though no one is pursuing them. You will not be able to resist your enemies. You will perish among the nations, and the land of your enemies will consume you. Those of you who remain will be left to rot in the lands of your enemies because of your error. Yes, they will rot away because of the errors of their fathers. Then they will confess their own error and the error and unfaithfulness of their fathers, and admit that they have behaved unfaithfully by walking in opposition to me. Then I also walked in opposition to them by bringing them into the land of their enemies. Perhaps then their uncircumcised heart will be humbled, and then they will pay off their error. And I will remember my covenant with Jacob and my covenant with Isaac, and I will remember my covenant with Abraham, and I will remember my covenant with the land. While the land was abandoned by them, it was paying off its Sabbaths and lying desolate without them. And they were paying for their error because they rejected my judicial decisions and they abhorred my statutes. But despite all this, while they are in the land of their enemies, I will never completely reject them, nor cast them away to the point of exterminating them, which would violate my covenant with them. For I am Jehovah their God. For their sakes I will remember the covenant with their ancestors, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt under the eyes of the nations, in order to prove myself their God. I am Jehovah. These are the regulations, the judicial decisions, and the laws that Jehovah established between himself and the Israelites on Mount Sinai through Moses. Chapter 27. Jehovah continued to speak to Moses, saying, "Speak to the Israelites and tell them, if a man makes a special vow to offer the estimated value of a person to Jehovah, the estimated value of a male from 20 to 60 years old will be 50 shekels of silver by the standard shekel of the holy place. But if it is a female, the estimated value will be 30 shekels. If the age is from 5 to 20 years old, the estimated value of the male will be 20 shekels and 10 shekels for the female. If the age is from 1 month up to 5 years old, the estimated value of the male will be 5 shekels of silver and 3 shekels of silver for the female. If the age is 60 years and older, the estimated value will be 15 shekels for the male and 10 shekels for the female. But if he is too poor to pay the estimated value, the person will stand before the priest, and the priest will set a value on him. The priest will make the valuation according to what the one making the vow can afford. If the vow involves an animal that is suitable for offering to Jehovah, whatever may be given to Jehovah will become something holy. He may not replace it or exchange it with good for bad or with bad for good. But if he should exchange it with one animal for another animal, the original and what is exchanged for it will both become holy. If it is an unclean animal that may not be presented as an offering to Jehovah, he will then stand the animal before the priest. The priest will then set its value as to whether it is good or bad. The value estimated by the priest will stand. But if he ever wants to buy it back, he must then give a fifth of it in addition to the estimated value. Now, if a man should sanctify his house as something holy to Jehovah, the priest will then set its value, whether it is good or bad, according to the value that the priest sets. That is what it will cost. But if the one who sanctifies his house wants to buy it back, he must then give a fifth of the money of the estimated value in addition to it, and it will become his. If a man sanctifies to Jehovah some of the field that he possesses, the value will be estimated in proportion to the seed needed to sow it. A homer of barley seed will be 50 shekels of silver. If he sanctifies his field from the year of the Jubilee, the estimated value stands. If he sanctifies his field after the Jubilee, the priest will calculate for him the price in proportion to the years that are left until the next year of Jubilee, and a deduction should be made from the estimated value. But if the one who sanctified it should ever buy the field back, he must then give a fifth of the money of the estimated value in addition to it, and it will remain his. Now, if he should not buy the field back, and the field is sold to another man, it may not be bought back again. When the field is released in the Jubilee, it will become something holy to Jehovah, as a field that is devoted to him. It will become the property of the priests. If a man sanctifies to Jehovah a field he purchased that is not part of his hereditary property, the priest will calculate for him the amount of the valuation up until the year of Jubilee, and he will give the estimated value on that day. It is something holy to Jehovah. In the year of Jubilee, the field will return to the one who bought it to the one the land belongs to. Every value should be estimated by the standard shekel of the holy place. The shekel should amount to 20 gerahs. However, no one should sanctify the firstborn of the animals, since it is born as the firstborn for Jehovah. Whether bull or sheep, it already belongs to Jehovah. If it is among the unclean animals and he redeems it according to the estimated value, he should give a fifth of it in addition to it. But if it is not bought back, it will be sold according to the estimated value. But no devoted thing that a man devotes unconditionally to Jehovah, meaning it would be destroyed in some way. So, 28. No devoted thing that a man devotes unconditionally to Jehovah from his belongings may be sold or bought back, whether from mankind or animals or the field he possesses. Every devoted thing is something most holy to Jehovah. Right. Sorry. Furthermore, no condemned person who is set apart for destruction may be redeemed. He should be put to death without fail. Every 10th part of the land, whether from the produce of the field or the fruit of the trees, belongs to Jehovah. It is something holy to Jehovah. If a man ever wants to buy any of his 10th part back, he should give a 5th of it back in addition to it. As for every 10th part of the herd and flock, everything that passes under the shepherd's staff, the 10th animal should become something holy to Jehovah. He should not examine whether it is good or bad, neither should he exchange it. But if he would ever try to exchange it, both the original and what is exchanged for it should become something holy. It may not be bought back. These are the commandments that Jehovah gave to Moses for the Israelites on Mount Sinai. I think I need to do a little bit of research on verse 28 more, because I didn't understand it. So we're always learning, right? One of the things that I wanted to say as far as facts, kind of, is we're on the 3rd book. And I like to say the 3 books together: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, when I'm trying to memorize the books. And hopefully that's something I'll remember to go through as we're doing it. It's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus. And we finish those books. You have a great day and be safe. Toodles.